here today to talk about or to celebrate connection. The past few years now have been incredibly difficult as we navigate, what is connection, what are our social relationships, what do they look like in this world as we think about safety and we think about health and we, how we take care of each other and all of the mental health implications that go along with this. So when I was thinking about this panel today, it was the subject of connection was kind of apropos because we're joined today by many of Born This Way Foundation's youth advisors. Our advisory board is here, welcome. And for this group, it's the first time that we have all met in person after knowing each other virtually for almost 2 years now. It's wild. So it feels like we've known each other for such a long time, but we're here in person to celebrate, and it's just interesting to explore how do we get to know each other in the real world, and what does that look like? It's like getting to know each other all over again. But so connection is super important, and it was beautiful to see all the different kinds of connections made this week. So it's near and dear to my heart today. So. And as we've seen over the past couple of years with the pandemic, social connectedness is really important in terms of supporting our mental health. So I'd love to hear from you both. What are some of the ways that you foster that connection, and what are you seeing in your lives to place that social connection at the top priority?
So I'm a nerd. I like research. I've been thinking a lot about this, and research really shows how bad social isolation is for us. If you look at studies, social isolation leads to depression, anxiety, substance abuse, suicidal thoughts, actually shortened lifespan, and lots of medical issues as well. Also I'm a doctor, and I love the idea of therapy and medications if they're helpful for people, but research also shows that interventions that improve social connection can be just as helpful as therapy and medications. So peer support groups, therapy-led support groups, even spending time with friends and family, anything that gets people in connection with each other. And I've been thinking about the ways that that's really important with young people. So number one is what you're saying, in-person social interaction. So young people are in a generation where so much is happening online, and I think there's so much benefit and so much to be gained from that. You can meet people who you never would have met where you are in person, especially for young people that are living in areas where there aren't that many people around. But I'm such a big proponent of in-person social interaction with other people. I'm so glad that your advisory board can get together like that. I'm so glad we can all get together in person. The more time you spend with other people in person, the more you build your social skills, the more you get your mood lifted. And I think there are particular ways in working with young people that I've seen that they build social connection that boosts their mood. Back to the research, I have a favorite researcher, and her name is Annalise Singh. The reason is that Annalise looks at queer and trans youth and does research specifically in small groups of queer and trans youth. And what she's found is that the most sort of helpful ways that young people in those groups find social connection, there are a couple things. One is talking to each other and learning that they're not alone in the feelings that they're having, that systems of oppression contribute to how we experience our lives. And if we can look at those together and see those, and our any harassment we experience or bullying or any of these sorts of things are all part of these systems of oppression. And so they contribute to all of us feeling isolated so that we don't feel so alone. The other thing is getting young people to be advocates and out in the community and doing things for other young people and for the world, because you feel better about yourself when you're doing good and you're contributing. And lastly, being mentors to other people. So peer mentorship programs, places where young people can interact in person with each other and help each other. I've always found, obviously in my life, I dedicate my life to doing mental health advocacy, and I love when I see young people do that. So it's awesome to see you all here in person doing that.
Definitely. And I definitely agree. Oh, sorry. Definitely agree with a lot of points Dr. Laura made. Now I want to just highlight how we're here, building community, engaging, sharing space, and I think that's how social connection can tie into helping you with your own mental wellness. I think, and the good point of youth and just all of us being exposed to so much online, having those outlets, even those online communities where you can share those experiences and not feel alone and isolated in what you're feeling, because nobody's alone in this world. So just putting yourself out there and equipping yourself with those tools and that support network and, you know, those like-minded individuals who you can, you know, come together and not rely on, but use as a support. And studies have shown, we actually have a Heart Mob community, we have a Heart Mob community, which is an online community dedicated to stopping and speaking on online harassment. So if you are experiencing it on social media, on gaming platforms, you can join this community and share those experiences, talk about what you can do to combat that, help your friends, help anybody experiencing those similar situations, because social connections, I think, in person, online, whatever medium you're taking it in, just having that person or platform to kind of get that out and release that into the world so you don't feel alone is very important. So definitely.
Yeah, it's very important to remember that we are not alone, and those themes of having someone to check in on you and having someone to relate to is so important. Having a mentor, I know that resonates with me. I grew up in Appalachia, in a small town in West Virginia, and growing up queer in Appalachia was, I'm sure you can imagine, not cute. It was very isolating at times, but I found a really awesome community doing community theater, musical theater, and I had a lot of friends who were going through the very same thing, but we were not talking to each other about it. We hadn't come out yet, but we all were experiencing these feelings of what is happening? Like, nobody is like me, but actually there are people like me. So that kind of leads me to my next question of, how do we, okay, we're here, we're in person, we have each other's back, we want to support each other, but those conversations are really kind of difficult to get into. How do we start the conversation? We know from our research at Born This Way Foundation that young people are turning to each other for support above all things. But again, those conversations are difficult. So I'd love to know from both of you, where do we begin?
I was actually going to say that same thing, that we a lot of times think that young people are going to turn to their parents or their teachers or their therapists. No. Young people turn to each other, and that's why it's really important that we do things like the Be There certificate that connect young people to each other and being able to talk to each other. So I sort of have two thoughts on this. One is sort of some ideas on how to approach other people who, you know, you're worried about. The other is a couple of places where you can go. So in terms of approaching other young people that may be, you know, you may be worried about something, one of the things I think that's most important is having a setting where you can talk with someone in a way that's real. So you can connect with them, look at them, empathize with them. Again, I like in person the best. If you can't do in person, I would say second best is something like FaceTime, where you can actually see the person and really interact. And then this is probably said a million times, but really listening. I think sometimes we're distracted, we're thinking about ourselves, we're bringing up stories or things that happen to us, and sometimes it is helpful to, when your friend talks about something, say, oh, I had something similar happen to me, this is how it affected me. But we are sometimes too quick to give advice or ideas for things that someone might do, and sometimes someone just wants another person to listen. And I think that that's the most important thing. And then you don't have to solve the person's problems for them. And if they're not really ready to talk and you're asking questions, you know, don't push. I would say just let them know that you're going to be there and be available. And the only time that you really need to push is when you feel that sort of gut feeling that something is wrong. And if your friend says anything about, you know, thoughts of suicide, something that sounds like it might be more dangerous, you know, there are really good resources. About a month ago, the 988 number became the nationwide number that you can text or call if someone's having a crisis, and you can reach out, you know, whether it's you or whether it's a friend. And there are some misconceptions about 988, and one of them I would say that's the biggest, and I don't know if this is one that people in the room have, is that it's like 911, like it's directly goes to the police and they have your, you know, geolocation, which is not true at all. Actually, when you call 988, it goes to the state where your area code is. So I don't know if anyone else has an area code from a state that they don't live in. I do. So it sends you to wherever your area code is, and you have a trained counselor on the phone, and that person can talk to you about what's going on. Only 2% of calls that go into what was formerly the Lifeline and now is 988 will actually get referred to the police and geolocated, and half of those, it's because the person who called in wanted that. So 98% of the time, it's just a crisis counselor who you talk to who doesn't actually know where you are. So if that's at all helpful. And then the second thought I have on this question is sort of resources I've seen around. One that I've heard of really recently is Coco. Has anyone else heard of that? So Coco is an online resource. I think they have about 2 million people, and I swear I'm not like connected to them. I just met someone from their organization. But I think it's really cool. What they do is you go on and you post something that you're struggling with, and then an anonymous peer responds to you. And it is, you know, it goes through their website with people look at it and make sure that it looks okay and the person's not providing you with terrible advice. But you get anonymous advice from a stranger who's also a young person who's looking for help. And you have the ability also yourself to answer other people. So actually they said that their website, when traffic goes up, people's responses actually come quicker. Because other people are there, and this goes back to being sort of peer support and mentorship and that kind of thing. It's young people being there for other young people, and when you go in and you have a problem and you're able to give yourself to other people, that boosts all of our mood, and that puts us in a really good place. And then finally, you know, I work for the JED Foundation, and one of the things that we do is we do workshops around the country for young people themselves, for parents, for teachers, for coaches, where we talk about, for young people, how to talk to a friend, right? And for adults, how you can talk to young people. And it's some of the same kind of steps that I was talking about.
Thank you. I would firstly say knowing where to go, or even beginning to think of where you should start to begin your journey is to really reflect and to understand where you are, to touch on the importance of the meditation today, to really sit and reflect and take a minute to create that story in your head. Okay, what is this? And then where do I want to go with it? And it's again, equipping yourself with those tools inwardly and outwardly, so you can then use that to be in your choice and then decide, I want to reach out to other youth. I need to speak with somebody who's actually gonna take me to the next level. I wanna reach out to a community organization who's already doing the work. Like, you know, so I really do think the importance of wanting to hit the ground running is to take a moment and to be still and to know where you are and create that foundation for yourself. And then to highlight a training that we offer at Right to Be, which I actually have taken several times and I think it's really good, is our self-resilience training. So that just, again, reiterates in being in your choice and creating that story and knowing that you have the power to speak on and collaborate with like-minded people. Like, you know, I don't want to keep saying that word, but like, you know, just your community, like, you know, and to just really be in that. And I think that's really important, just with mental wellness in general. So yeah, not to ramble at all, so yeah.
No, not at all. And I want to talk more about that in my next question about how we can take care of ourselves, but that was a treasure trove of resources. So I am so excited to check out that self-resilience training. Coco, those both sound so incredible. So definitely hit us up after the panel to check out those resources. But a lot of the things that you mentioned did tee me up quite nicely to share more about our program at Born This Way Foundation that we developed with our friends at jack.org, a Canadian charity up in Toronto, which is the Be There certificate, which is a free, accessible online course that teaches you how you can support someone who may be struggling with their mental health. And something you mentioned, Dr. Laura, about listening, that is the thing that I struggle with the most. A while back, I had a friend joke with me. He was like, Josh, you only listen to 60% of the things that I say. And I was like, ow. and he was joking, but I was like, oh yeah, because I didn't remember something about him, but I will never forget that. And I was like, how can I listen more? How can I show up better? And I think the Be There certificate, there are 5 golden rules. And we actually, Josh Holland, I don't know if he's in the room, but he's our incredible digital associate, and he wrote a song, and that's how I remember the 5 golden rules. Say what you see, show them you care. Know your role, hear them out, know your role, connect them to help. But anyway, there's the Be There certificate teaches you 5 golden rules to learn how you can be there for someone in a mental health crisis. So that has been really helpful for me in learning the foundational knowledge of how to do that, how to listen better, how to show up better. And these are all incredible resources that we can use to do that. But as I'm sure we all know, that before we can be there for someone else, as you started to get into, we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. We have to make sure our cup is full. So I'd love to hear how you take care of yourself. I'd love to know some ways that you prioritize your mental health before you show up for others in your life.
Sure. I'm big into therapy. I actually didn't go into therapy until I was in my mid-30s. And I don't know, it's completely changed the way I think about everything, the way I think about my connections to my family, my relationships, how I grew up, in really good ways. And it helps me to understand how I work, how I function, and why I do the things that I do, and helps me be who I want to be. I love in-person interactions. I'm a broken record. I spend as much time as I can, not online, not on social media, actually meeting up with people, seeing people. When I travel, I always try to meet up in person with people that I know. I try to go to plays, I try to go to movies, I try to get out and do things. And then exercise. And back to the nerdy research. Research shows that exercise is really, really helpful for mood. And I couldn't find it, but I was looking around for a study, because we joke around in psychiatry that exercise is as good as Prozac. And I couldn't find the study, I really wanted to find it. But there is a lot of research that shows that exercise is super, super helpful. And that doesn't mean you have to, play a sport or go on a jog or any of those kind of things. If you're a New Yorker like me, you can go on a really long walk. You can, sort of like take a stroll in a neighborhood that you've never been to. Anything just to get your body moving. Go dance, Do anything where you're actually moving your physical body. Super, super helpful.
I would say it's very good to have those check-ins with yourself and know what you need at that moment. Being very in tune with, do I need to take a step back? Do I need to just have some fun or do something from my childhood that I know is going to give me those endorphins for the time? So just really being in that. And then just kind of touching on everything I already spoke on, having those tools in your toolbox so you know yourself and you know what you need at that moment. And then having that community around you, having those people checking on you, like, yeah, are you doing okay? Do you need to take some time for yourself? And yeah, I'm really big on, just seeing where I am, like, I guess, like, at that current moment, and then just assessing it and then seeing what I need. I want to say that just being transparent, knowing that it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. I do get it wrong some days. I do get it very right some days, and that is just a journey. And I think that's the beauty of it, like the space and grace of I'm working on this, and that's what ultimately keeps me going and makes me happy on this journey. So yeah, and yeah, I don't want to ramble. So,
I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's really important. It's important to understand that we're truly all in this together. We're learning, we're growing how to be there for each other and how to best show up for each other. And I think to just build on that, it's also important to remember to set your boundaries when it comes to supporting the mental health of others. There's the final chapter or step of the Be There certificate really kind of teaches you about how to be there for yourself and how to set those boundaries. And sometimes if someone's struggling, I wanna be there immediately and be like, all right, how can I fix? How can I help? How can I be there for you? But if I'm honest with myself, sometimes I'm not in the right place to be able to do that. So it's okay to say, if someone comes to me with a problem, I don't really have the space to hold that right now, but I would love to set up a time to talk with you about it when I am ready. But here are some resources, and here's where if you do need help, here's where you can go. So it's important to remember to set boundaries as well. So thank you so much. Yeah. So I think that I think we need to wrap it up here soon. But is there anything in closing that you would like to share with our friends before we move on to? I think there's some art in our future, some moving our bodies and the roller skating in our future. So.
That's all I have to say. Please enjoy each other's company, get to know each other, spend time in person together, move your bodies, all of that. I love it.
I just want to leave with the closing, with lifing right now as it has ever been before, just to be present and to be kind. I want to highlight the shirt that the Born This Way Foundation is, and that looks different every day. Like I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Some days you will have great days, some days you will have okay days, and some days will unfortunately be bad, but that doesn't mean the next day can't be better. So yeah, just be you and stay resilient. Yeah, thank you.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, I'm so excited to party with y'all. Thank you, Dr. Lara. Thank you, Yasmine. And if you'd like to learn more about Born This Way Foundation, we are set up in the garden, as is the Jed Foundation. And if you'd like to learn more about Right to Be, you can speak to Yasmine. But all right, I think we're on to the next. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, y'all.